of that. And
Sorry.
oops. And I have also witnessed her speaking at commission meetings about controversial topics or projects in the watershed area. So she's gotten very involved. So with that, I think you ought to take it away. Explain your credentials and why you're so passionate about this.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, I'm all of those things. I'm also, speaking of controversial, I'm chair of the Finance and Advisory Committee in Oak Bluffs as well. And
That's right, I forgot.
That's okay. And I'm on the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan Advisory Committee in Oak Bluffs as well. So I try to, educate myself about all the ponds and everything everybody's doing. But it's a lot, obviously. So about a year ago, I became the president of the Lagoon Pond Association. The Lagoon Pond is, as I'm sure you all know, the second largest estuary on the island. And according to the MEP, it's very impaired. And we used to have eelgrass as long ago as maybe 2017. There was a tiny bit of eelgrass left. 1995, there was eelgrass all around the entire lagoon, the perimeter of the entire lagoon. And now there is none, zero, no eelgrass at all. So the lagoon's impaired. And when I became president, the LPA, it was kind of like a neighborhood, people around the pond get together, talk about the lagoon. Occasionally when there was something controversial, people would get upset about it. And we'd talk at different group settings and things at the MVC or, in the towns, if there was anything relating to the water of the lagoon, that we would do that type of thing. But when I became president, I decided that we needed a kind of more active approach to things. And so the first thing, unfortunately, that happened was that Safe Harbors was expanding their marina on the lagoon. And of course, most of the people that are members of the Lagoon Pond Association were against the expansion because it would be more boats. Everybody around the pond's always worried about more boats in the water, the turbidity for some of the things that are going on in the pond, those types of things. And so the Lagoon Pond Association was against the expansion, and a lot of people were vehemently against the expansion. But I decided that the best thing to do was really to approach Chris Scott, the manager of Safe Harbors, and go over there and just talk to him about it. So we went and talked about a lot of things, and what developed out of that, he was very responsive. He's a great guy. And what developed out of that was this Lagoon Pond Collaborative, where we decided to get all of the stakeholders that we could that have something to do with Lagoon Pond and meet quarterly. And we've met twice so far. It's been great. We have town officials, we have Shellfish Group, we have Shellfish Constables, we have people from the Board of Health, Conservation Commission of both Tisbury and Oak Bluffs, because of course the pond's in both towns. And we've met to talk about not only what we're all doing in the pond, and the big one is businesses too. We've invited businesses in. So we've got MV Shipyard, we've got Safe Harbor, we have the wind guys. So we've got oyster farmers. So we've had businesses in there too. And we get together, and not only do we tell each other what we're doing, but we're seeking to try to figure out if there's collaborations that we can make together. So for example, Chris Scott collaborated with the Shellfish Constables and the Harbor Masters in Tisbury, and has put some additional signage out there to help with the Lagoon Pond landing over in Tisbury, so people go out through the channel. He's got no wake signs out there. Some of that was stuff that the MVC was requiring anyway, but we've talked about those things. He's going to participate in some of the activities that we do as the Lagoon Pond Association and that type of thing. So it's really developed a really good partnership. I think if nothing else, getting together quarterly is helping everybody on the pond realize what else is going on the pond. You do get anecdotal evidence from, we have 3 oyster farms on the pond that are relatively new, and you get anecdotal discussions from the people that are oyster farmers out there, along with people that are, boating and doing all those types of things. So collaboration is really huge. Septic obviously is the biggest thing that's affecting the pond. And so we're very up on the CWMP in Oak Bluffs, and also what Tewksbury is doing with respect to septic and IA systems and all that type of stuff. We have 2 people on our board that are wastewater gurus. They have studied up on everything that they can. They've met with the wastewater department and OB at least, and the Board of Health, and they have done a lot of work just getting themselves up to speed so that they can educate everybody else. We're going to be at Harbor Fest this weekend, if it doesn't rain on us. And we've got a really cool nitrogen impact sheet that discusses the effects of nitrogen, what you can do to ameliorate nitrogen, all that type of stuff. So that's a really useful and good handout that we've got. The other thing that we've done is we've set up a repository it's a scientific repository for all things relating to the lagoon, which actually includes other ponds. So we have information from other ponds as well as the lagoon. We are going through it. It's a long process. We have the interns both at FOS, thank you, Greg and Mike, and at the Lagoon Pond Association, who are taking articles, as well as some of our board members taking articles, reading them and indexing them, so that if you want to know, for example, about green crabs in the lagoon, you can type into this repository green crabs and mine all the information about green crabs. So we're doing that. It's a long process and it's a lot of work, but we're hopeful that the interns kind of jumpstart us this summer on that. Let's see. The one thing that we really would like to do, and sounded like at our last collaborative meeting that Adam Turner was kind of on board with it, was we would like to get water quality testing devices that are in the lagoon all year long. And the reason for that is to see what's happening when the lagoon is at rest, as well as when it heats up and there's a lot of stuff going on. It also will help us to the extent that we've got these efforts that we're doing, the PRBs and IA systems and stuff, monitoring it on a daily basis to find out, is it working? What is happening? Is climate change just too much for it? And it's not going to help things. So we'd really like to get that in there. They're really expensive. Wacoyet on the Cape has them. They have 8 in Wacoyet Pond, and they actually can connect to your computer or to your website via Bluetooth. So you could actually go on to the LPA website and see what the water quality is today. So you can see things like pH, dissolved oxygen, water temperature, all kinds of things like that. So we'd like to do that. We're looking to try to do that. We've been trying to raise some money for that. And then coupled with that, we are doing a biodiversity study. So it's going to be we have a marine biologist on our board, and she's developing it. It's going to be a fairly scientifically rigorous biodiversity study, which can't decide if I really like that idea or not. But I mean, it'll be a good thing overall, but part of what I like to do is try to get the public involved. So we're gonna have a trial run next month. We're gonna take a seine net out there, 50-foot seine net, and there's gonna be like 6 of us, and pull it all in, catalog, check out everything, count, save the stuff we don't know what it is, that type of thing. So, and that's something that we're hoping to do several times a year as well. Other things that we're doing, we had this past weekend a boat turn-in weekend on the lagoon. There's often, particularly during nor'easters, there's often a lot of debris and things that float down to the head of the pond or to some of these other places. I've had boats float up on my beach down here as well. And so we had a boat turn-in weekend to try to get people to turn their unused boats or ruined boats or whatever and we collaborated with the harbor master in Oak Bluffs on that. We tried Vineyard Haven too, but they weren't enthused about it, but we did it with Emily de Betancourt in Oak Bluffs, and got a lot of stuff off the pond, which was really good. We're doing a pilot program with the shellfish group to do to gather eelgrass shoots so that they can do their eelgrass restoration, which they're probably going to start planting in the fall. So during the summer, they've asked that some of the LPA members go out, mainly to Menemsha or Cape Pogue or what have you, to gather up the floating eelgrass with roots and seeds, the other long things that have the seeds on them, to gather that up so that they would have everything they need to start planting in the fall so that they could do another restoration project on the pond. And that's, on July 22nd, we have a cleanup around the lagoon. Which isn't always successful, and I think that's because there's a lot of, it's just private. There's not a lot of public stuff around the pond. There's a little bit of it, but we have a cleanup, and that night we have what's called Light Up the Lagoon, where we ask people to go down to the edge of the lagoon with some sort of light and shine that for about a half an hour as just sort of a show of solidarity about the lagoon. So that's on July 22nd. And one last thing, we're also working on a PR campaign about all things water quality. And what I mean by that is we've approached the newspapers to try to do a column, maybe on a weekly basis, where all of us, including all of you, might participate in writing things up to try to educate the public on what we're all trying to do. And, particularly in terms of the CWMPs and things like that. So, yeah, it's a lot, but that's what we're doing.
Great.
Any questions?
Oh, that was great.
Really take it.
Any questions? Not seeing any.
Well, I have a question. Sherry, there is a group, it's called Mimic, and I don't know what that acronym stands for, but they monitor invasive species. Would your group, FOS, would people be interested? Because I could get them to come down and do a training. They did it, they came a few years ago, and when my interns, when they have some downtime, which isn't very often, they'll go out to a certain area and they'll just look for invasive species. This is just to find them. It's not to remove them. It's just to catalog their presence and absence. And I have several sets of the cards too that could be used. That sounds like something that might be right up your alley.
I think that
you don't have to.
I think that is right up our alley, Sherry. I mean, it's really right up our alley because everybody likes to do hands-on stuff. They like to feel like they're making a difference. And we usually have pretty good enthusiasm with respect to that. And I know invasive species are one of the things that some of our board members have been talking about quite a bit. So we'd love to do that.
Okay, then I will definitely arrange that because they just had a meeting about it last week, and I'm sure they would love to have more people.
Yeah, we'd love to do it. So that would be great.
Right. Yeah, and the collaborative meeting was wonderful because I found out that 2 of the aquaculturists do have long-term monitoring. So that group has been amazing, just the information that's being shared. And so we can see what they have for long-term monitoring, and then we can put another one in another area so that we get a good coverage of the pond.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you really find out a lot when you all get together. It just seemed so when Chris Scott and I started talking, it just seemed like there was so many people doing different things and not everybody knew what everybody else was doing. And to come together and talk about that and see how you can, not overlap and things I think it's been very useful. So.
John, I see you.
And that was wonderful how you went to them and just said, okay, we're gonna have to deal with this. So
yeah, I mean,
he's been doing.
Go ahead.
He's doing a study for salt marsh restoration, which I've noticed with the really high tides, there's like nothing there anymore. It's covered.
Yeah, they hired a consultant and they've been working on that, and they keep us updated on that as well. No, he's been great, and the way I looked at it was, we're all neighbors. We all live on the pond. We all are trying to do the best that we can do. And yes, there's businesses that need to make money and do the things that they do on the pond. You can't say that there's never going to be a boat on the pond. And the best way to do that is just talk to each other. So that's my outlook on it. And that's what I've been trying to get people to do. Because just saying no doesn't really work anymore. So,
Yeah.
I think it's great that you're involving businesses in this. I think that businesses are a good focus for not only Lagoon Pond, but also Senjikantaket Pond conservators to focus on in the future, because the businesses, more than anyone else, are beneficiaries of healthy ponds and clean beaches. And we should be leaning on them for financial support for what we do.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the businesses have been very receptive, and when they came, for example, Packers business came, and they do water quality testing there, which I didn't know that they did. And so they let us know what they did. And then they talk about the shipyard and safe harbors talk about the different safety equipment they have and things like that to, for when they're cleaning and painting boats and working on them and things like that. So, you really learn a lot, and they really learned a lot. And to work together, both financially and just in terms of tangible efforts is really great. So I think John
John.
does John
Yep.
have his hand up?
John has his hand up. John, you still there? Frozen? What happened? I don't know what happened to him. So I was gonna say, the Vineyard Wind project has promised the island all kinds of money once they get going, and they'd be good people to talk to, Richard Andre,
Good idea.
sort of working with them to.
Thank
do
you very
some-
much, Sherry, for your presentation and the wonderful work you're doing. It's extremely inspiring, and I wish you luck with it all. It seems to me that it's a great model, and I hope a precedent for what can be done elsewhere. But I'm also wondering about, as it were, scaling up some of the things that you're talking about. For example, the collecting, collating, indexing information seems to me to be of use across the island. And I'm wondering whether that could be scaled up with support from the towns and the MVC. And then I'm wondering whether, for example, if there was a schematic that you made available of what you're doing, and that was brought to the attention of people across the island at other ponds, whether in their interest to replicate it, for example, to get year-round monitoring devices, that the price might come down just through the economy of scale.
Yeah, I think that's, I have big visions.
Can't hear anything.
Can't hear. I have big visions, and some people think my visions are too big, but I'm also a big advocate of, you just have to do stuff. You just have to do it and inform people on what you're doing, and people will want to, participate to the extent that they're able to participate. My vision for the Lagoon Pond Association is that we eventually are able to hire someone to do the indexing for us, or hire a couple people part-time to do the indexing. We are including the other ponds in it because we just my science committee determined that it was relevant to have the other pond information in it, so that when we begin to mine the material that's in there, we can show trends and comparisons.
Sure.
and that type of thing. So it's absolutely of use to the other ponds. And as I said, I went to Friends of Senji to ask them to.
I can't hear anything.
Okay. For the rest of you, I went to Friends of Senji and asked them to get their interns to work with us with respect to this repository and the indexing, and they graciously allow their interns to do that. So we've got 4 interns that are devoting some amount of time to working on the indexing, in addition to the 3 or 4 board members that we have doing it. But yeah, I think it would be great if the other ponds got involved to whatever extent, and glad to provide them with whatever information they need in order to do that. Part of it is just gathering the information too, I know Francis Engie has stuff in boxes I think it's at Christina Miller's house, which Martha's been trying to get. And, we've gotten some stuff from Sherry Casso, and we've gotten other stuff just from other types of scientific journals and things like that. But there's other organizations that have materials, and they're all scattered all over the place, and it would be good to have them in one spot.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always wanted to do, but it's so huge.
It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, John must have a poor connection because he keeps freezing and he said he can't hear anything, but just sad. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe you should bump out. Let me suggest that. I will suggest that he try reconnecting.
I think it's great that you form this collaborative to involve everybody that benefits or, is on the pond. Because it isn't just recreational versus, well, recreational has lots of different meanings, I guess. But, a lot of people depend on the businesses that they run to be on the water. And the island, Vineyard Haven, depends on those businesses too, to attract people. So, I mean, it's a collaboration that needs to happen and do things right. I mean, it's too bad that this didn't happen before the shipyard decided that they wanted to expand. The MV Shipyard wanted to expand their project because that might have gotten underway and approved, but it just hit a roadblock and it went nowhere. I don't know where it is now. You might know where it is now. Are they still considering that?
All I know is that they've withdrawn their application
Right.
for the BBC.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I could talk to James Hale and ask him about it. But I just don't know at this point. So. But that's a good idea. Maybe I should just pick up the phone or go over there and talk to him about it. It's funny, there's not enough of that goes on, I think, sometimes. It's so easy.
Well, the other thing too, as we all are aware, there's been something happening over there that's made everybody pay attention to that strip of property on the island. And it's too bad it's taken all that racket to draw people's attention to this, but I think there needs to be a better understanding of why this is happening. I know it's really hard to take, and I don't know if they could have done it differently if we'd had a conversation before they started, but it certainly has drawn people's attention to that part of the island.
Yeah, that I totally agree with you on that. And, the ramifications on the west arm of the west arm is the dirtiest part of the lagoon, of course, because Mud Creek flows into it, and it's not great. But in conjunction with that too, we had all the beach road construction over there, and just talking about speaking up and saying things. I went over there and happened to notice that all of their sediment erosion berms were all buried. There was stuff going over them. It was all going into Brush Pond, which then goes into Lagoon Pond. And so I went to a select board meeting in OB and spoke up asking the contractors and the DOT, what's going on there? That's a mess. And they actually sent out their environmental division, along with a lot of DOT people, the project manager, the assistant manager, like the head guy, all this stuff. And we walked the whole thing. And not only did they, within 1 week, not kidding you, 1 week, they completely replaced all of the sediment erosion berms and everything, and in fact, doubled up on them completely for the entire project. But they also, the environmental guys noticed that the outfall of one of the drains, the one that goes right around the corner there on County Ave, not County, East, whichever one it is, the one that goes down to the drawbridge. That corner there that floods all the time, the outfall drain is completely plugged up on the ocean side, and which no one knew. And yeah, and so they're working on getting that fixed as well. So, you know, another one of those things, just speak up and you'd be surprised. So
Oh, good for you. Good for you. That project is another situation where what's going on? Who's in charge? What's happening? It's like,
it's really crazy. And they're just, you know, once you bring it up, they'll focus and they'll do the right thing. And you know, it's Lawrence Lynch. They do all the contracting work down here, as far as I can tell. And I did try to get them to change that horrendous bump out, but they seem very loath to do that. So
you mean the bump up when you're turning next to the hospital?
yeah, you know, the one that kind of comes out into the road,
Yeah.
and you can left or right. Yeah.
That's an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, they're not going to fix it. So, but anyway, just one other thing to you know, to bring up, if it's affecting your pond, if it's affecting something that you think isn't right, speak up.
Yeah. Yep. Anybody else have anything they think we should be talking about, that Sherry should be talking about? Not seeing
Anybody have
anybody.
any advice for me?
You're doing great. We can give you more tasks, I'm sure. Danielle is having a family shellfish day on June 24th. So that brings in a lot of people. A lot of people come and learn how to shellfish. It's a pretty fun day. And then yours is July 22nd, the
Yes.
clean up
and light up the lagoon. Yeah.
Yeah, and that might just be nice too, is just kind of put together a calendar and, you know, like the annual meetings and things like that, just so that, you know, people who are interested. Your annual meeting, Sherry, will be, do you
It's
know,
on
is that?
Yep, it's on July 15th at the sailing camp I believe it starts at 9 a.m.
And do you have a focus or a speaker?
We're working on it. I think, yeah, there's always like a million people that you could have and come and speak, but I think, you know, the wastewater management plans are really important for the pond. They're the most important thing. And even though we usually have somebody come and talk about those every year, I think we need to have that done again. And particularly in OB where the CWMP is done, basically, really want to have those consultants. I talked to Gail Barmakian about it and would really like to have the consultants come in and talk about it. I mean, people need to start to get educated on IA systems and how they're going to have to put them in and whether they're going to be sewered in OB and that type of thing. So I've asked her to see if she can get the consultants to come in on that. And then I was going to approach people in Tisbury to see if somebody would come and talk about their targeted Tashmoo plan, which I know draws a lot of people going, why not the lagoon? So, you know, so there'll be interest in that. So I'm thinking about that. We also had the lawn program from VCS come in and talk to us recently. And so there's a thought about having them come in, bringing ideas on plantings and things that you can use instead of lawn. So that might be of something of interest to our people as well. And then, you know, Sherry, we always love it when you and or Adam come in. So.
Great.
Gail. You're muted. You're muted. Still muted. Gail, you're muted.
We can't hear you.
She's getting all excited about something.
Okay, take
There you
two.
go.
Yeah, there you go.
Lip read, Sherry, thank you for all of you've done and the collaborative nature of it especially. And I hope per John's suggestion that you can put a database together that would relate to other ponds to get, some fire going under them. But my question really was, do we have an update on Title V? And where is the best place to keep getting updated information?
Do you mean the regulations that
Yeah.
are going on?
Well, I'm addressing that to whomever might
Oh,
know.
the whole group, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole group. I mean, I know I'm on the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan Advisory Committee, which is a mouthful, in OB, and I know that we have a, I don't know, the consultant viewed it as a final draft. I think it's, I don't know if it's gone to the state for approval yet or not. I think Gail told me that it had. But that one's basically done in OB. And obviously they've already started implementing it because the town has already gone to the, I mean, they've already gone to the town meeting to get approval for funding for at least the beginning phases, which is to fix the existing wastewater treatment plant. And then they expand the wastewater treatment plant. You know, these are 20-year plans. So there's iterations of what you have to do in it. But I know that's where it is. And I know that in Tisbury, you know, in addition to the regulations that you guys already have with respect to IA systems, I know they're doing a targeted watershed plan for Tashmoo, because that can get done faster. I mean, Michael can probably speak to it better than I can, but it can be done faster, and they can get into the funding, the state revolving fund for this faster if they do a targeted plan. And then they're also working on their CWMP at the same time. But, you know, the thing is that it's all of this stuff is going to take time, and how you speed it up, I don't know.
Well, what about the Up Island towns? That's what I'm curious about.
Sherry would know that, right? Because they've got their 208 plan.
The 208, we have finished the descriptions of the watersheds, and we have finished the solutions section. We're now working on the matrix, which is the different, somebody was talking to me. The different solutions and how much nitrogen they'll remove and approximately how much they'll cost. And then the next phase will be to put together some scenarios that the town could use, that, you know, using these solutions that we've found, a lot of it will be IA systems. You know, pond openings are great, but we don't ever, we're not getting the rain, so we're not getting the head that we need, so we can't open them. Like last summer, I saw that the data from Eggertown Great Pond, the nitrogen was off the charts in August because it hadn't got that opening. They weren't able to open till September. So, you know, that's a great tool, but if we can't use it, then it's gotta be one of those one of the other options. So the 208 is in progress. So, and once the 208 is done, then the towns can either join the wastewater collaborative with the Cape, so they can get that the Airbnb tax money, or it will make them eligible for some EPA money. And I've been talking to a lot of EPA people. They're just like, there's so much money out there right now. So I'm trying to put together a 604B, and I'm trying to put some ideas together. We could either do targeted plans, or we could do comprehensive wastewater management plans, or they would also like to see some implementation strategies that we could use in some of our water bodies. So I've had some really good conversations with EPA, which is amazing, and they've reached out to me. So I think there's some money, and I'm going to call them this afternoon and say, is there anything else that you need to put this together? So we'll know more in this September, but
And
the 208 is coming along.
In terms of upkeep, Sherry, is it best to go to the commission, and since you're working on that, to get continuous upkeep update?
Yeah, we just put together the report, and we're going to be doing that. I don't think it's monthly. I think it's like quarterly. So we're just doing short reports. But yeah, we have the 208. It's we are going to put it up on the website. I know it's somewhere, but I was like, Chris, I can't find it. So it doesn't do us any good if no one can find it. But yeah, I can send you whichever towns that you're interested in. Are you on any of the planning committees for Any of the Top Island towns, the 208? Okay. But I can show you any of those plans. I can send those to you.
I'd like to, yeah, good. Thank you.
Michael, can you talk to the targeted wastewater management plan?
Unmute, Michael. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep,
Yes.
okay. I will say that we're on target, working with Scott Horsley. We have about 3 weeks left to hit our target, which is to file the targeted wastewater management plan. We are looking also at the at biodiversity, which I think came up earlier. I think I have a suggestion that I can give that I think might help you if you want to go down that road. But basically, we're hoping that this year to get some money out of the revolving fund and things like that. And I do believe that time is not our friend. I believe the amount of nitrogen we've removed from our waterways over the last 20 years is really small. And I think it is time to go out and start really doing something and removing nitrogen. And it looks like we'll be in a position to do that this year. And I would say having the boards of health work together is a good thing. I would think having the various ponds work together is a good thing. I would be willing to help reinitiate the work that was being done by the Hale boys, Bill and James. I don't think it's a priority of theirs now, but they are people who remove an awful lot of waste from the Vineyard Haven Harbor, for instance. And it's worth having a relationship with them, I think. And if I could help build that, I would. There's also a person at the at Vineyard Conservation Society who looks after diversity issues, and he uses messenger RNA, very top level kind of scientist there. And I could make an introduction there if you'd like.
Okay, that's awesome.
Now we're looking for fun here, right? Science, I heard it.
Yeah, no. We've got I know that my science committee wanted to sit down with you and Melinda, so we've got to get that on our calendar. Everybody's back now from all their travel, so.
You have the ability to be irrepressible. So we would like to participate in that.
Great.
And we could do that at the Board of Health level. We could do it at various levels. You're aware of them all.
Yeah, great.
Two other businesses that I thought of that you might work with, maybe you already are working with them in your collaboration, would be landscapers who take care of so many of those homes along the water. They should be educated about what they're doing, what they shouldn't be doing. I know VCS has been trying to do this, but they need to get the message. And the other people that are pretty important to our economy are the real estate brokers. And if they both in sales and in rentals inform people, potential owners, of what they should and shouldn't do with their property before they buy it, it might be a good thing. And also renters, while they're here, how they should behave with their different, issues, waste things, and how they treat their property and why. I mean, they're spending a lot of money to come here. And, we're trying to make it worth the while, continue to make it a wonderful place.
Yeah, no, those are really great ideas. And I know that there's several people on our board that are really interested in talking to the landscapers and working on fertilizer issues and that type of thing. So I'm going to write that down so we can talk about that. next board meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I would also suggest that the approach to the boards of health here would be really valuable. They're the ones who are a regulatory body, you know, they can write regulations
Yeah.
and enforce them. And they were the ones who wrote the regulations we have now. We had no trouble getting compliance when we rolled them out. That is, we had the golf courses were huge supporters of the denitrification program and knew how to apply nitrogen in a way that it wasn't wasteful so that it didn't get into the water body. And the same issue was with the big, not just the landscapers, but the people who had the various organizations that sold fertilizer. They were supportive. They didn't want people to use the wrong fertilizer either. They just didn't have the juice to tell some customers that they couldn't buy 10, 10, 10. But we gave them that juice. And I say that they're having I believe the boards of health have reinitiated a program, a training program that every landscaper has to go through.
Yeah, they do have that.
All I can tell you is that COVID took a huge bite out of our capacity to do some of these programs.
Mhm.
It's not because we disagreed or didn't believe you were asking for the right stuff. It's just that people were tired, just tired. And when this year is over, we will probably have changed out every one of our health agents. You know, Matt Poole's gone, Maura's given her resignation, huge
Right.
loss for us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, we have to reconstitute some of the tools we used to have. That's all I'll say.
Mhm. Yeah.
But we have the potential to be a huge asset, the Board of Health. They meet every month together as an island-wide institution. And they're good. We have to go out and find some more people now. And that's going to be a task for us for a while.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just to remember, we do have a wonderful tool, the Blue Pages. This I used to give to when we had it, but we have it now, the new copy. And I would give it to the real estate agents and they gave it to the renters. And they put it in the houses that were being rented. And that was very helpful. That's just one of many, many avenues. And the Board of Health, Omar Johnson in particular in West Tisbury, had piles of them that he would give out when people came to the town hall, you know, and
Another
not
great guy.
what?
We lost, you know, Omar is leaving too. I mean, it's been a
He put
huge
his
drain
heart-
on us.
Yeah, and he was
Huge.
wonderful.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and he was more cooperative than many of the other Board of Health, you know, members that in terms of supporting that effort. But really, it is a fantastic tool. And if everybody could be aware of handing it out in their own domain, that would be very helpful. There are many copies at the building. Sherry can tell you where they are, the boxes. I don't know how many we still have. We are also trying to raise money to redo the Portuguese version that we had. They're all gone, the first version. And that was handed out to all the people who work in the nurseries as an educational tool, just for starters. So we do have a tool that we need to support and make more of. And have people, I don't have an intern that I can, you know, and I didn't have a car for a year and a half. So I really couldn't go around handing them out like I used to. But I'm putting that out that we could use hands to hand them out and get them in good places.
Last year I had my interns take them to all the libraries and to all the town halls.
They always went to.
They
the
did
libraries,
that
yeah.
twice. So I don't see a problem if we have a day we're not sampling, I can always have them drive around and drop them off. And yeah, as Gail said, there's plenty here. I know different organizations have picked up Blue Pages. When I had new commissioners, we made sure they all had the Blue Pages also, so.
Yeah, the LPA gives them out.
John
whenever
has
we
his
go
hand
around.
up.
Yeah.
Yep, I see that. John?
Thanks. Thanks again. I unfortunately, after I spoke, if that was in fact audible, I was unable to hear the reply, but maybe I can get that later from the recording. I wanted to raise my perennial refrain, which is the magic word phosphorus, which I certainly would seem to me to have bearing on the lagoon, given the upper lagoon. But I mean, being the limiting nutrient for freshwater life, I wondered whether it's being included in the perspective, Sherry, countryman of the Lagoon Pond Association, and to what extent as well, Sherika, so that it's being included in the things about which you've been speaking, efforts to mitigate phosphorus. Thanks.
Yeah, I think at least from, I mean, Sherry can talk more about it from the water quality point of view, but in terms of the LPA, whenever we talk about nitrogen, we're really talking about nitrogen and phosphorus for sure. So we do have a nitrogen impact statement, but it talks about phosphorus as well. So, yep.
Yeah, our main focus is nitrogen. In the areas that are freshwater, we do test for phosphorus. We, I've said it before, I'd love to get a program going to just eventually get an intern to just go over what freshwater ponds we have, redo that survey, and then do some testing in some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, thanks. And I think as I'll risk video, as Mark Mattson pointed out when I last ran into him, I think at a VCS walk, the phosphorus is of course important to the great ponds at the points where they're being fed by freshwater from whatever sources. I also wanted to mention with respect to Gail's comments about the Brazilian Portuguese language edition, that as I recall, it was the tribe and Brett Stearns, who was then active in the Water Alliance, who got the funding to make that happen. And I don't know to what extent they're still involved with these things, but it might be, if as Gail indicated, funding is some sort of a constraint, it might be worthwhile to look back there.
We could go for another 80 grant. The last time we did printing, I think the printer has the copy in Portuguese. It's just, they don't have the revisions, so they would have to do the revisions. Printing has gotten extremely expensive. And our printer is, I don't know why, but I think it's in Seattle, Washington. He contacts me every once in a while because he would love to do it for us, but I can get some prices together and we could get going on that again. At least definitely get the version that's online available.
Yeah, Sherry, if we can help you with that, offload
Okay.
some of that, we'd love to do that. I know we would.
Great.
Just one
And
other,
forgive me for asking rather than just looking myself. Sorry, Gail, is there online now available reasonable PDF versions of both the Brazilian Portuguese language and the English language?
English language is is available. The Portuguese version is not up yet. If it was, it would be the unedited one, the prior one.
might be a good idea. Better than, nothing. One other thing, John just told me I did not go to the solutions presentation at the end of the climate conference, and I don't know if anybody else here did, but he saw this video or film, John, that had the blue pages featured, and it was like, whoa. So I think we should all, I want to see it and find out how to, and then would be another tool to use to present to the public, get it out there on MVTV and other sites, other ways to do it. So Sherry, are you aware of this?
Which climate change group was this?
This was the one that just happened with VCS.
It was the it was the closing night of the Environmental Film Festival. They showed a film called Solutions, which was a lot of very smart people talking. But prior to that, it was a delight to see an Edie Foundation funded film that was from the Vineyard Way. And Bill Cleary, whom some of you may know, was one of there are several people talking in that. It was about the island. And at one point, he held up a copy of the Blue Pages,
Yeah.
which then filled the screen.
Yeah.
And it was great to see. It's probably the best promotion the Blue Pages has ever had. Now, I don't know how widely distributed that film is, but I would hope it gets out more.
I
So-
saw it was very good too, I would say. I mean, I was startled. The Vineyard Conservation Society is another tool that is there to be grabbed.
Yeah. I'll also tell you that we did meet with Richard Paradise, both for Friends of Senji and for the LPA, to talk about what the film center could do. And FOS actually has a short 1-minute film that he said he's going to be showing off and on during the summer. And he'll also let you do slides. So the LPA did a slide, which is just when you go in right before a movie, you'll see like MV Savings Bank or, something like that. So the LPA did one. I don't know if FOS might, I don't know if you guys ever figured out if somebody did one or not, but he's very happy to do that. It doesn't cost you anything. He'll help you put it together. And you could do one for the Blue Pages and just have it come up with a link to them or something like that. He's been very helpful in that regard.
Good idea.
Yeah, I don't see anybody else. Does anybody have anything else that they want to talk about as far as their organizations are doing or things that we don't, updates? About other ponds and other parts of the island? Nope, not seeing anybody. All right, Sherry, anything else? Sherry Casso, anything else you want to talk about?
I can think of, we're going to start the water quality testing, like I said, in a couple of weeks, and we'll be out there regularly. So I know Lagoon Pond Association and Friends of Senji are both going to help, so that'll be awesome.
Great. I've been over the big bridge a couple times in the past week, and twice I saw hundreds of legal sized striped bass just swimming around having a good old time. They weren't biting anything foreign, nobody was getting them. They were just chomping on the good stuff. Okay, I won't tell anybody.
We actually, I had someone just catch a 10-pound bluefish right off my beach the other day here too.
Wow.
I know, crazy.
It's inside the pond?
Inside the pond.
Inside the pond.
Yeah, way inside the pond.
That's like gotta be a first.
I know,
Mm.
crazy. And then another guy with him caught an 8-pounder right after that. But this doesn't go beyond this group.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, great. All right,
It's
well,
all
thank you.
secret. I
Thank you,
recorded.
Sherry. That was good.
Yeah.
Thanks for all you're doing and sort of rallying. I feel like you have the energy to rally the crowd. Speak
I
up.
try.
You can actually make a difference,
I try. I think, we have to try as hard as we can. That's what I say. So, and thank you all very much. I really appreciate your time. And if you think of anything that would be useful to me or to the LPA, more than happy to hear it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bravo,
Right.
Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thank
Sherry.
you. Thank
So,
you. This
bringing
is
it
Sarah
together.
Nevin. Thank you. I love sitting in on this.
Hi,
All right, I
Glad
guess
you
we're
could join
done.
us.
Bye,
Hi.
everybody.
have a good summer.
Enjoy the weekend. It's gonna
All
be
of you.
crazy busy.
Yeah.
Hope to see you all around. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye-bye.